Hello everyone. Economic series, economic survey series which we are doing. I completed volume 1, 10 units, and yesterday in the series we had lecture number 6 in which I completed volume 2, unit 1 and 2, and today is the lecture number 7 of the volume number 2 of economic survey. The topic is external sector. It deals about the external sector. So mainly how the imports and exports are happening, how the balance of payment is there, how the financial investments are happening, what is the position of foreign direct investment, what is the position of foreign portfolio investment, which is also called as foreign institutional investment. These all things will be covered in this particular topic called as external sector. And the quote given for this particular unit by the economic survey is, the air that blows off a small lamp becomes the friend of a jungle fire. Power garner support is, if a small lamp is there, which is a more potential element to burn off the total jungle, a small wind, if it lights off the lamp, then it will become the friend of the jungle because it is going to stop the jungle fire. So power garners the support. Whenever there is the power, there will be the support in this particular manner, which is there in the Subhashita Ratnam of Telugu. Subhashita Ratnam. So the topic is mainly deals about the external sector. Imports, exports, COVID-19. Again, there is nothing more to discuss in 2020 except COVID-19. So COVID means one of the major factors is COVID-19. COVID-19 is pandemic led to sharp decline in global trade. So global trade decreased very sharply. The global trade came down very rapidly. Lower commodity prices and tighter external financing conditions with implications for current account balances and currencies for different countries. Yes. Almost all the countries got affected because of the COVID-19. Their current account deficits came down, the capital account deficits came down, their balance of trade, the balance of the payment came down. This is a general phenomenon for all the countries because of the COVID pandemic. So then how it impacted Indian economy, how it impacted Indian external sector is I am going to discuss now. India's forex reserves, means foreign exchange reserves, which are in the form of gold, which are in the form of SDRs, which are in the form of dollars, those are called as foreign exchange reserves. India's foreign exchange reserves at an all-time high of US dollar 586.1 million as on January 8, 2021. So the highest all-time being reached up to 586 last year January. But what happened? There was impact of COVID from the month of March. India to end with an annual current account surplus after a period of 17 years. We are in a surplus. That is a very good sign. The investments are happening, the foreign direct investments is increasing, the foreign institutional investments is increasing, the exports are improving, the imports are coming down. So the balance of trade is positive. But the parameters from April-December 2020 compared to the same period last year was totally different because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So if we compare the 2019 April to December and 2020 April to December, the calculations, the equations are totally different. Why? Because the economy totally slowed down. Pharma exports in particular used this opportunity to enhance their share in total India's export and indicate India's potential to be the pharmacy of the world. These developments have led to accretion of foreign exchange reserves that rose to all-time high of US dollar 586 billion as on January 8, 2021. So we reached the all-time high. $586 billion means huge foreign exchange reserves we had. That's a very good sign economically. So because of the COVID-19 pandemic, the total economy came down. The spread of the pandemic led to associated suspension of economic activities. So intentionally associated economic slowdown. The economy totally became slow. Supply chain disruption started. The labor was not available. The shops were not open. The movement was not allowed because of the lockdown. So supply chain disruption was been happening. Travel restrictions were been there. Volatility in international commodity prices. Why? Because There is no demand, there is no supply, so there is lot of volatility in international commodity prices. There was an impressive export performance of few countries, but however, few countries like Vietnam, Taiwan and Malaysia and their continuous narrowing contraction in imports in subsequent quarters. But some of the countries performed well. Exports were being ramped up and the imports were being ramped down. As per International Monetary Fund's October Global Financial Stability Report 2020, near-term global financial stability risks have been contained for now due to the unprecedented and timely policy responses to maintain the flow of credit to the economy and avoided adverse micro-financial feedback loops, thereby creating a bridge to recovery. A bridge to recovery. These countries, Vietnam, Taiwan, Malaysia, the Southeast Asian countries were been performing well. So we can learn the lessons from these countries. In spite of the global downturn, there is some positive trend in this particular country compared with the rest of the world that we can learn from these Southeast Asian countries with respect to their external trade. India, potential to be the pharmacy of the world. Potential to be the pharmacy of the world. So we are going to generate those pharmacies for which there is a demand in the world. For which there is demand in the world. Indian pharmaceutical industry is third largest in the world in terms of value, behind China and Italy, and the 14th largest in terms of value. In terms of value, it is third largest. In terms of value, it is 14th largest. Prelims point of view important. In terms of volume, third largest. In terms of value, it is 14th largest. Means economically it is 14th. India was at the 11th position in terms of share in world pharma exports in 2019, with Germany, Switzerland and USA occupying the top 3 positions. The pandemic, however, exposed the excessive dependence of Indian pharmaceutical industries on China for sourcing active pharmaceutical ingredients and key starting materials. See, my dear students, this is expected question for prelims. What is this active pharmaceutical ingredients and key starting materials? Active pharmaceutical products means like paracetamol, which we use in almost all the medicines. Some percentage will be there of the paracetamol. So that is called as active pharmaceutical ingredient. Key starting material means it is that material which is very much important for the manufacturing of the drugs is called as key starting material. The term is relevant in pharmacy industry. So this active pharmaceutical ingredient and key starting materials are very much in use in to make India as a pharmacy of the world. So these two terms we can expect a question that the active pharmaceutical ingredients or key starting material. Key starting material we don't know. So key starting material is a term which is associated to pharmacy. What is that material? Means that a common material, that common chemical which we use in almost all the materials, we will be importing from the China. So that import should be stopped. A well-defined strategy for broad-based development of the industry needs to include the following components. Broaden base in terms of market as well as product categories. Increasing exports to large and traditionally under-penetrated markets such as Japan, China, Africa, Indonesia, Russia, CSI, Commonwealth, independent states, Brazil and Latin America can assure in the next leg of growth for Indian pharma industry. So now we have to focus on exporting those countries which were been not touched yet. Those pharmaceutical countries where we have been not exporting any goods, so there is a need to focus on these countries. Restructure the current regulatory mechanism and upgrade and build capacities at various National Institute of Pharmaceutical Education and Research, NIPER, Mohali. Example, greater research and development expenditure to move up the value chain from generics to novel chemical entities. India's current account deficit averaged 2.2% of GDP in the last 10 years. Reversing this trend, current account balance turned into surplus 0.1% in the GDP till 2020 January. But after that, the current account deficit became deficient, negative. Foreign exchange reserves of India, how much we have? We have nearly $581 billion. That is a very good sign. $586 billion. India's forex reserves at an all-time high of US dollar $586 billion is a very good amount. So what is this foreign exchange reserve, sir? The foreign exchange reserve is an amount which will be helpful as a cushion in the emergency. In the emergency, it can be used as a cushion. So this amount we can withdraw from the foreign exchange reserve and we can use for the country's emergency purpose. So it is like a cushion amount, like a shock absorber. So if we had a more foreign exchange reserve, means yes, we are in a position to observe any emergency. We are in a position to observe any contingency situation. Thus, India is the fifth largest foreign exchange reserves holder among all countries of the world after China, Japan, Switzerland and Russia, and the fifth is India. The rise in the foreign exchange reserves of the RBI has largely been due to the current account surplus, which in turn is largely due to contraction in imports rather than increase in competitiveness of exports. The current account balance in economic terms is synonymous with the savings investment balance. So savings are increasing and investments are coming into India. A current account surplus implies a higher level of national savings related to investment. A rise in foreign exchange reserves also represents investments in bonds, securities of other countries, in effect investing abroad. So because of the investments, because of the domestic savings, because of the reduce in imports, because of increase in exports, the foreign exchange reserves has reached the all-time record of $586 billion. That is a very good sign, but it was still only January 2020. If you see the foreign direct investment, this type of graphs are very important. See, it's performing well. FDI again very good performance in 2019-20 first quarter. Then again it got reduced. See here, if you see here, 2021 March, April, May, and the second quarter it drastically reduced, totally V-shaped, but again it got picked up by the quarter 2 and again it went up to 24.6. This is called as V-shaped curve for the growth in foreign direct investment. Similarly, if you see foreign portfolio investment also, if you see negative foreign portfolio, we had a very good 2019 quarter and 2019 quarter. And here see, if you, the 2019 and 2020 means January, February, March, it totally destroyed. Again it got from April, May, June, slowly it started increasing and it had a very good growth. Foreign portfolio investments are also increasing. This is called as a trend. This trend you need to understand. Initiatives taken by government to boost up the exports. Yes, balance of trade means exports should be more, import should be less. So what will happen? The money which is coming from outside into India and the goods which are going out will be more. So our is a market and we are selling. They are buying. So they are giving their foreign exchange. They are giving their currency to India. And in return, according to the Indian rate, we are giving them the goods. So our foreign exchange reserve will be increasing if the exports are more. If imports are more, I will give my dollars in their currency. So I have to give my rupees and I have to convert in the dollars and I have to give them. So my dollars will be going out. In imports, my dollars will be going out. In exports, my dollars will be increasing. That is the balance of trade. So exports should be more and imports should be less. Exports means when I am selling my goods to the foreign countries, it is called as exports. When I am buying goods from the foreign country, it is called as imports. So some of the steps taken by the government to boost the export sector is trade facilitation, National Committee on Trade Facilitation, in order to facilitate the trade. A committee was being constituted which is called as National Committee on Trade Facilitation, which is headed by the Cabinet Secretary. This person will be taking care about the barriers which are going against the trade. So all the barriers will be removed which are going against the trade, so that the trade will be boosting up. That is the National Committee on Trade Facilitation was been started in 2016 with the Cabinet Secretary as the chair to reduce trade barriers. Second, remission of duties and taxes on exported products. So if I am going to export, so there is a discount provided to me. The amount is given back, which is collected in the form of taxes, will be remitted, so that it will be like a motivation for the export companies to export more. That is called as remission of duties and taxes on exported products. Government has rolled out a new WTO compliance scheme, namely remission of duties and taxes on exported products, for all export goods. So for all the export goods, the taxes which are collected for the reaching the target of the exports, they will be given some amount, they will be given some discount in for the sake of motivating the export companies. Production linked incentive scheme, which we discussed earlier in volume 1. In order to boost domestic manufacturing and exports, the production linked incentive scheme is there. If you are producing this much, when you will produce, when there is a market. So if you are producing this much, on the produced good, you will be provided with some incentive. That is called as production linked incentive scheme. These all are for the sake of boosting the export sector. If you are producing 100 export goods, means when you will produce when there is a market, that means you are growing, means you are producing more. When you are producing more, means the economy, exports are increasing in the country. So if you are going to give more exports, then the government of India will be providing the incentive, that is called as production linked incentive. Trade related logistics. India's rank has improved significantly in trading across borders. Parameters of ease of doing business. Index from 146 in 2018 to 68 in 2020. The Logistic Performance Index released by the World Bank assessed relative logistic efficiency of countries. On this index, India was ranked 44 out of 160 countries in 2018, vis-a-vis rank of 54 in 2014. So, yes, India is performing well with respect to ease of doing business, with respect to Logistic Performance Index, which is released by the World Bank. So, these are the factors which are motivating, boosting up the export sector. If you see the export growth, how it happened. So if you see here the graph, if you clearly notice, see this is 2018-19, 2019-20, 2021. Exports is good, reducing. World exports, total exports. See, this is India's exports. See here, if you see here 2021 March, April, May, it totally came down. Again, it grown in second quarter and it was here. So exports reached down. Exports reached, but again we had a kickstart. But at this time it is a very positive sign is there with respect to exports. Some infrastructure initiatives are at various stages of implementation. Bharatmala Pariyojana is a new umbrella program for the highway sector that envisages building more than 80,000 kilometers of roads, highways, greenfield expressways, bridges. Sagarmala aims at port modernization and new port development, port connectivity enhancement, port linked industrialization, coastal community development and giving impetus to coastal shipping. Multi-modal logistics parks shall act as a hubs for freight movement, enabling freight aggregation, distribution and multi-modal transportation. They would provide modern mechanized warehousing space and value-added services such as customs clearance with bonded storage adds warehousing management services. So these are various infrastructure projects in order to boost the exports. Bharatmala Pariyojana, highways, roads, greenfield expressways, bridges to connect the ports. Sagarmala aims at port modernization. Ports are getting modernized. Multi-modal logistics parks. All the connections will be there. Logistical connections will be there. Dedicated freight corridors. There is eastern dedicated freight corridor and western dedicated freight corridor. Exclusive freight corridors have been constructed. Eastern and western. Prelims point of view. Eastern from where to where? Western from where to where? How much is a kilometer? How much is a kilometer? Who is funding this? Who is funding this is very important. Please go through that once. Trade infrastructure for export scheme aims to assist the creation of appropriate infrastructure for growth of exports from the states. And finally, the disruption of the global manufacturing value chains due to the COVID-19 pandemic presents a tremendous opportunity for India to become one of the keynotes in the China race. Now we have to look the COVID-19 as an opportunity, a tremendous opportunity to recreate ourselves, to reborn ourselves in the competition of the trade. And we have to prove to the world that yes, we are one of the competitor, and not only the competitor, we are the fair competitor and we are in the race. Improving trends in India's merchandise trade have been supplemented by equity capital inflows, robust FDI inflows and sustained build-up of foreign exchange reserves. Yes, these are all positives. In spite of the COVID-19, we had a very good track record of capital inflows, robust FDI growth, foreign institutional investment also increased, sustained build-up of foreign exchange is some of the positive things of our external sector. This is what which is given in the economic survey. So finally, we had a V-shaped growth. Finally, we had a V-shaped growth. Yes, in the first quarter of the 2020 and 2021 financial year, it totally drastically decreased. But in the second quarter, there is a robust increase. In second quarter, there is a robust increase to the. This is what. The next topic is unit number 4. In unit number 4, I will be dealing about the monetary management, financial intermediation. So what is the steps taken by the RBI in order to come out of the crisis of COVID-19, economical crisis of the COVID-19? How to push back? How to push back? Monetary management and financial intermediation, RBI. Given the unprecedented shock of COVID-19 pandemic, monetary policy was significantly eased from March 2020 onwards. Yes. So why? Because there is a need for quantitative easing. There is a need for monetary easing. Why? Because the people were in standstill. Lockdown was being implemented, no cyclical role of economy. The economy is not running, the movement is not happening, the labor are at their own positions, no more movement. So there is a need for essential commodities. So at that time, the RBI started pumping the money into the economy. Given the unprecedented shock of COVID-19 pandemic, monetary policy was significantly eased from repo rate. The repo rate has been cut by 115 base points since March 2020, with 75 base points cut in first monetary policy committee meeting in March 2020 and 40 base points cut in second meeting in May 2020. Reverse repo rate. The reverse repo rate was reduced from 4.90% to 3.35%. Systemic liquidity in fiscal year 2020-2021 has remained in surplus so far. RBI undertook various conventional and unconventional measures like open market operations started, long-term repo operations started, targeted long-term repo operations were being started. These are all the good signs. These are the monetary benefits which are provided. These are the monetary benefits which are provided by the RBI. If you see this table, you will understand. See, 6th February, 27th March, 28th March, 22nd May. See, the repo rate drastically decreased so that the economy should run. This is a very good step which is taken by the government. See, 4% they made the repo rate. So means loans are cheaper. Reverse repo rate became 3.35. So the loans become cheaper. Cash reserve ratio also became from 4 to 3. So the banks need not keep with them specified resources with them. 1% was being liberalized, and statutory liquidity ratio also reduced to 8%. Bank rate marginal standing facility also reduced to 4.25. So in order to push the economy, in order to give the benefits to the micro, small and medium enterprises, to the individual earners, yes, this monetary benefits in the form of reducing the repo rate, reverse repo rate, CRR, statutory liquidity ratio and marginal standing facility is a very good step which is taken by the RBI. If you see this table, you yourself can analyze it. Yes. You yourself can analyze it. Liquidity conditions and its management. The systemic liquidity in 2020 and 2021 so far has consistently remained in surplus, reflecting several liquidity enhancing measures undertaken by the Reserve Bank in the wake of COVID-19 induced disruptions. The main drivers of liquidity during 2020 and 2021 have been currency in circulation, government cash balance and the Reserve Bank's foreign exchange operations. Well, currency in circulation withdrawals and build-up of government cash balances resulted in liquidity drainage from the banking system. The Reserve Bank's foreign exchange operations augmented systemic liquidity. These measures undertaken include open market operations like buying and selling of bonds and changing of repo rate and reverse repo rate. In state development loans, as a special case, were also introduced targeted long-term repo operations up to 3 years tenure. Reduction in CRR, now only I showed you, it is only 3%, earlier it was 4%. Requirement of banks, raising banks limit for borrowing overnight under the marginal standing facility, special liquidity facility for mutual funds for 50,000 crores, refinancing facility worth 75,000 crores for financial institutions of NABARD. So NABARD, National Housing Bank, SIDBI, Exim banks. So in order to promote the export import, in order to promote the small industrial development, housing boards, agriculture, refinance facility was being provided up to 75,000 crores in order to boost up the economy. These are the very good steps taken by the RBI with the help of the government. The measures listed above, coupled with foreign exchange purchases, resulted in expansion of surplus liquidity. The increased government spending also added to the liquidity surplus. In spite of various conventional and unconventional measures undertaken by RBI, like open market operations, long-term repo operation, targeted long-term repo operations to manage liquidity situation in the economy, the financial flows to the real economy, however, remain constrained on account of subdued credit growth by banks and non-banking financial corporations. So, in spite of all the steps, the growth was not significant. Why? Because economy is not running. The credit was not running. The credit is not increasing. Why? Because if I take the credit, I have to pay again, no? And I have to pay with interest. Then why I will take credit? So credit was also not running properly. Monetary policy transmission. RBI has reduced repo rate by 250 base points since February 2019. The transmission of policy repo rate changes has been weak on quantity of credit. There has been improved transmission of rate structure and term structure. Rate structure, the transmission of policy repo rate changes to the deposit and lending rates of scheduled commercial banks. So the repo rate was been decreased. The reverse repo rate has been reduced, but the credit growth of banks slowed down. In spite of all these steps, the credit growth rate was not up to the mark only because economy is not running. The economy was not running. The reduction in policy rates and surplus liquidity helped in bringing down both the short term and long term interest rates. However, the impact has been much smaller on longer term interest rates. In spite of all these steps, the credit was not increasing in the banking sector. Coming to the regulatory measures in banking sector, merging of public sector banks happened. Consolidation among another two public sector banks with Punjab National Bank, Canara Bank, Union Bank of India and Indian Bank as anchor banks came into effect from April 1st. Big banks. Restructuring of MSME loans. A one-time restructuring of loans to MSMEs that were in default but standard as on January 1, 2019 was permitted without an asset classification downgrade subject to certain conditions. Export credit. The maximum permissible period of pre-shipment and post-shipment export credit sanctioned by the bank was increased from 1 year to 15 months. Monetary policy transmissions means what? Repo rate, reverse repo rate, external benchmarking of loans. These all are monetary policy transmission. These are all the steps were being taken by the RBI in regulating the banking sector. Cooperative banks. Revision in the target of the priority sector lending, mainly to promote financial inclusion. The urban cooperative banks, the priority sector lending has been increased from 40% to 70%, and in which lending to MSMEs were been added to it, and under which interest subvention was also given to this MSMEs. To promote financial inclusion, the overall priority sector lending target for urban cooperative banks has been increased from the present level of 40% to 75%. Inclusion of cooperative banks as eligible member lending institution under interest subvention was also added to urban cooperative banks. Reporting of large exposure to central repository of information on large credits. Urban cooperative banks with assets rupees 500 crores and above were brought under the CARIL LC reporting framework. The Banking Regulation Act 1948 had been amended by the Banking Regulation Amendment 2020, under which the Reserve Bank has been granted powers over the management of the urban cooperative banks. So urban cooperative banks now are under the control of the RBI. Earlier they are under the control of the registrar societies of the state law, but now it is under the control of the RBI, urban cooperative banks, which have been made. These are all the structural reforms taken by the government with the help of RBI in order to promote the economy through monetary policy is the unit. So prelims point of view, what are the monetary steps taken by the government of India? What are the reforms in banking sector? What is the bank which got under the control of the RBI recently is Urban Cooperative Banks. And in the next lecture I am going to come up with unit number 5, 6 together. Thank you and all the best.